Roger. Thanks for joining me at the AP Arms today.
Hello, how are you doing today?
Doing very well, thanks. We have a bit of a heat wave here in London, so whole city is grinding to a standstill.
Same here. It's very warm here as well.
Nice. Well, Roger, I think it's a good idea to start with a couple of introductions. So my name's Hannah. I'm the Customer Success Manager working closely with Penn State Health here at Zelix. And Roger, I guess I'll let you introduce yourself.
Well, my name is Roger Koontz. I am the Accounts Payable Manager for Penn State Health. I started at a small CPA firm and then moved into a health insurance company, spent 34 years there, had two separate experiences as an accounts payable manager during that time, but I also spent 15 years in training and development. So I'm very interested in developing staff to know their jobs and know them well. I've been at Penn State Health for 3 years, and it's a treat to work here in Hershey, Pennsylvania. It's the home of the Hershey Chocolate Factory, and we call it the sweetest place on earth. So
I like that, Roger. If I ever come out to Hershey, I'll definitely ask you for some recommendations on where to go.
very well.
Cool. Well, Roger, as I said, thank you for joining us here at the AP Arms today. It's only fitting, really, that I ask you about your favorite restaurant experience. Do you have any stories here to tell?
Well, my favorite restaurant is really a place my wife and I go to often. It's the neighborhood pizza and sub shop, and we call them subs. I don't know if they're heroes, hoagies, they're different names and so forth, but we just enjoy it there. We know the proprietors. We go in. It's we're very friendly and so forth. And it's just a place. You see people. It's great food. It's relaxed atmosphere and so forth. And it's just a very good place. It kind of is like the Cheers bar of but without the alcohol perhaps. But it's just that place that's the neighborhood place where everybody knows you, and you feel really comfortable, and the food is great. So
Fantastic. No, I like those kind of places as well, where it's
yeah,
kind of that small feeling, everyone knows each other. So
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Cool. Well, Roger, you mentioned that you work for Penn State Health. I wondered if you could just give me a little bit more background onto around your business, what you do, and kind of what your finance team looks like.
So Penn State Health is a company that we have 5 hospitals. Our flagship hospital is the Milton S. Hershey Medical Center here in Hershey, and it's known for its College of Medicine. It also has a very strong children's hospital that is very much a research hospital as well as treatment of children. And we also have an extensive network of clinics in our area throughout the areas we serve. As far as my team is concerned, in order to support that enterprise, we have 19 members on our accounts payable team, including myself. 14 of those members are processing invoices on a daily basis. We also have then an AP supervisor who directs those processors, and 3 AP specialists. And they get involved in the process improvement, they get involved in high level issues and the vendor maintenance for our department.
Thanks, Roger. You've got a very big team there that you're working with.
Yeah.
And you mentioned previously that you've had a lot of experience with learning and development, and I know that that's kind of a passion of yours. So I guess on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is it for an AP team to move from processes to problem solvers?
I would say it's 9 and it's moving to 10 very quickly. The AP processors will spend time processing invoices, but you really, more and more automation comes in, it's more important for them to really understand how to solve problems.
That's interesting. So kind of this shift then, and you mentioned there to become proactive, and is that in spotting potential issues before they become a problem?
Absolutely. One of the things I really want them to do is to be thinking about, the vendor themselves. What kinds of issues do we have with that vendor? How could we maybe get the invoicing process to be more efficient? And then also realizing that, a lot of vendor problems come up because we may not be getting the invoices correctly. We use scanning software that brings the invoices into the system, and maybe it doesn't always scan properly. So you really need to make sure that things are being processed correctly. And it also it's growing them in their ability to do their jobs better. We really stress that a lot to the folks that it's more than just that simple heads down processing. It's really about getting in there and understanding all of the things that they need to know about that vendor. It's also about really responding to questions from people throughout the company. We'll get inquiries in, why is this not being paid? What's going on with this? And they need to understand that, maybe there's a hold on that vendor. Maybe, for some reason, maybe we've got a credit balance that is causing those to be held. And that's not visible to the people in the company, but it is visible to us. And the more we understand the total vendor relationship and everything about that vendor, the more that we can answer those questions timely and quickly.
Yeah, no, that makes complete sense to me. So I know a little bit later, I'm excited to hear how you've managed to facilitate this shift, so from processes to these problem solvers. And you've touched on a couple of reasons as to why this shift is important. I guess thinking about a real life challenge that I know is applicable across US healthcare companies, it's around this issue of credit notes. So, for example, you order a number of implants and then you need to return most of them.
Right.
I guess this, coupled with the sheer volume of invoices that you guys process, must be tricky. Would you mind just telling me a little bit about how your team proactively manages this problem?
Well, one of the things is that, the system supports the return process with credit notes. So, our purchasing and receiving departments will enter those returns into the system. And the processors need to understand that, they need to be looking for those returns when they get the credit coming in. They need to process against the proper return so that the system is working in their favor. It's doing the job that the system's supposed to do, monitoring the pace of that, monitoring those returns, making sure that they're getting processed correctly into the system. And oftentimes, it's also a process that the account reconciliation process supports. Why don't we have something for that return? We haven't gotten a credit memo. If you're doing the account reconciliation with the vendor, you're looking for those types of things where we're missing those credits. We haven't maybe gotten the documentation on that and so forth. And so we're trying to get them to think about that too through the account reconciliation process. I know that gets to be a little tedious sometimes. Sometimes the processors, they're like, hey, my job is to process the invoices when they come in. Well, but sometimes it's to identify those things that are missing in the vendor process as well.
Sure, that's something that we see very often. And you mentioned that piece around statement reconciliation. It's this great form of control, I guess, particularly within the US healthcare landscape where credits are so prominent. So it's great to hear that that's something that you really put focus on in your industry. So we've sort of spoken about why it's important for your team to be more proactive, spoken through this example of being proactive with credit notes and kind of the real life saving that you can get from this task. I'm really interested though, Roger, how did you develop your team to become proactive problem solvers?
Well, one thing we introduced last year was kind of a slogan for the team. And I did an acronym and I said, stick to it. Stick to it to me is 5 parts. The S is stay with the system. Be consistent in your routine, doing these things on a daily basis, taking responsibility for your assignments. That's really knowing your vendors, completing all the invoices that are there for you and following up promptly on the open items. Then initiating action. So now that you've stayed with the system and you've taken that responsibility and you've identified a problem, get in touch with those vendors, contact them, push them for answers, and raise concerns, to your supervisor if you need assistance. and then caring about what you do. And that's really about respecting both the vendors and our internal staff who have questions and so forth. Respect is one of the core values of our company. And so I really emphasize that to our staff. And then, so it's S for stay with the system, T for take responsibility, I initiate action, care about what you do. And then the K is knowing your job well. And that's about that continuous learning, being a continuous learner, understanding that there's always something new to learn about the process of accounts payable. And if you think you've already got it all down pat, you don't. There's always something new. And then using the tools, Zelix is one of them, our ERP is one of them, Excel, using Excel well, knowing how to use those tools to your advantage so that you can actually proactively identify and prevent those problems before they arise.
Roger, that is really fantastic. I think probably the best slogan that I've heard there, and definitely some key learnings for me, particularly around, you think you know a tool, but actually there's always more to do there.
Yep.
So I think that's a really great way to lead your team. So sorry, were you going to add onto that?
Well, I was just going to say too that, I do have some passion in that. As I mentioned before, I did have some time in my development or my career in training and education. So, we do encourage them, obviously to learn and so forth. And we do provide then follow-ups in our biweekly sessions so that we can, build on that concept and make sure that they're learning things specifically about their job. I never take it for granted that every staff person understands things in the same way, that, maybe 10 of them do. And then we also look to the other staff people to say, here's something I learned, and have them share it with the staff as well.
That's really good to hear, that you are actively making time within your day-to-day for development within the team. I think that's hopefully going to resonate with a lot of companies that are going to be watching this. It's kind of, yes, we know learning and development is important, but we also need to actually make sure that that is really at the forefront of the work that we do.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. Roger, before we move on to kind of a lighter part of this session, was there anything else you wanted to add so far in the conversation?
Well, I do appreciate, the tools that we have, and I do, I do think that, Zelix has been a real big part of that for us with the vendor reconciliation and, or the statement reconciliation, and some of the other tools that are there, been very helpful to the process.
Thanks, Roger. That's good to hear. Cool. So what I'll do in this section of the conversation is I'm going to share my screen with you. And once you can see my screen, I'd love for you to please caption one of these photographs.
What's going to happen today? What's the problem we're going to run into today that's going to really give us a challenge? Because when I look at that, it's like, I'm going to have a hard day. But you know what? It's gonna turn out all right. Everything's gonna work out fine. In the end, if we take what we've learned and we use it to our advantage.
Yeah, I see that completely. I think that's a good one. I've had cats my whole life as well, and yeah, as you say, fortunately my cats don't often make that face, so I know what to look out for if they do.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool. Well, thank you so much for joining me at the AP Arms today. How was your experience here with me?
Very good. I didn't get to actually visit the pub that's behind us, but I did have my drink with me here, non-alcoholic. I'm in the workplace today. But nonetheless, it's been a really good experience, and I've enjoyed talking with you today, Hannah.
Thanks, Roger. And yeah, for sure, if you're ever in London, of course, let me know, and we'll go out we'll find some nice pizza restaurant or something and get a good slice.
All right. Very good. Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks very much. Speak soon.
All right. Take care.
Okay, bye.